Hey, good morning. Kind of a impromptu stream this morning. I got a lot on my mind, and I've been wanting to talk about some things for the last few days. Just some crazy stuff going on. Um, First thing I want to get out of the way, if you guys look in the description down below, either way will help. The The GiveSendGo will help faster. A lot of you probably already know I'm trying to get my family over here from Ukraine. They're kind of in a safe zone right now. I mean, what's safe in Ukraine right now, really, to be honest. Um, but I'm just trying to help get them here. Um, my fiance and I were actually planning on kind of going through the normal route of the whole immigration process, but uh, we thought the war was going to be done. You know, Trump said that he would get it done um, within a few days. We know that that hasn't happened. Um, who knows what's really going on? I have some thoughts about what's actually happening there, but I think right now it's just a matter of just some big egos. Um, I don't know. But yeah, if you can help, it's kind of like a nightly thing, pretty much, where they hear the Shahed drones flying overhead, and then off in the distance they can hear explosions. They're fairly far away from Kiev. Kiev is getting blasted pretty bad. Kiev and Kharkiv. There's a lot of innocent people dying, and these aren't military locations that are getting hit. So it's primarily just civilian. It's more of a, I don't know. This is, to me, this is more of a like a terrorist act than anything. So yeah, I mean, if it was military areas that were getting hit, then you would see um, military stuff getting hit. Basically, like barracks and things like that. Anyway, I've also got my sponsor links down there too. But the Give Send Go will help. My original goal on that was $6,300 because the big utility trailer, and I got a pretty good chunk for that. So that's in the bank waiting. Um, but I need another. Trying to remember what the amount was. I think I still need like 2,100, 2,200. Plane tickets are not cheap, so I don't know. Hopefully, I can get some traction there. The Give Send Go's been up for almost 2 weeks. I've had one prayer, 10 shares, and not a dime in donations. But it's funny. You get an Uber driver that should have insurance on his vehicle. He's involved in an accident, and he can get $16,000, $17,000 to get a new vehicle that insurance should have taken care of. But people are throwing money at this guy like it's going out of style. So it just makes me wonder where people's priorities are. Um, so yeah, let's get off the Ukraine thing for a bit. I know there's a lot going on recently with Trump and with Zelensky having a meeting. It seemed pretty positive. Both sides were pretty positive about even Zelensky, which surprised me because normally he's pretty bombastic and didn't have a whole lot of respect, um, especially when you're groveling for money. But anyway, maybe things will be looking up there. I don't know. We'll see. We'll just pray, hopefully. Um, I don't know. I'm not even looking to see how my stream is going. It says it's going okay here on my end, but hopefully it's all right. I don't see that I have any viewers yet, but no, they'll come maybe. About the last 3 days, I've been kind of living on X quite a bit, and ran at their three nuke facilities. It's almost like X turned into a remake of Zuckerberg era. It's like I go on there and all I see are posts from the left and all the evil, nasty things that they say about President Trump, about his family. Um, I mean, yeah, Trump it was questioning her citizenship or like her legality here in the United States. It's like, come on, are you kidding me? Um, if anything, a lot of these posts are showing the stupidity of the left and these. I don't know if you want to call them libtards, progressives, whatever. But you know, we all know who we're talking about. Um, and then I don't know. I kind of think that there are like some bots that I mean, not some, a lot of bots are activated, and we're talking about accounts that are for senators and congresspeople. They're putting these tweets out and they're doing memes, and some of them are pretty nasty. And you know, I responded in kind to. We'll give you an idea. In the last 2.5, 3 days, I've posted over 350 posts, either replies or posts of my own on X. That's how crazy it was. But then, and this is kind of the main point that I wanted to make. Um, I had just gone to bed and I'm getting ready to go to sleep, and I hear this voice in my head telling me that I need to react differently than I have been on X. And it kind of went in to say, I mean, this is what all came into my head. It's like, these are all God's people. Whether, you know, they have evil intentions or, um, you know, whether they be the Ayatollah or the Iranian army commanders or any of these people, any of these people that we think have evil intentions. It could be even people that are in our own government. These the lefties that I just went after with vengeance. I think you could say, but the voice was telling me that these are all God's creation, and by me attacking them the way that I'm God, because I'm attacking His creation. And it says what I should be doing for these people is praying for them, and I still should rebuke them. You know, when they're lying and they're putting a bunch of lies and things like that out, I should still rebuke them, but I shouldn't be basically telling them to quote unquote using the emojis to eat shit, or that they're a POS, or just some of the things that I posted out there. And I got to thinking about it. It's like, yeah, maybe I got triggered a little bit too, you know, by some of these people. But what I was being told is a lot of these people don't understand or don't even realize what they're doing is wrong. And it's my job and our job to pray for them and rebuke them on lies, you know, on if they're out there lying, or if they're calling for violence and things like that, rebuke them and pray for them, but not attack them. At least that's the way that I did with a lot of them, especially our Congress people, and our senators that were posting things that were, anti-Trump, anti what we did in Iran. So there's a lot there. Um, so I just I'm gonna start coming. You'll see me coming at these people a little bit differently in the future, and going back to what I opened with the whole Ukraine thing and bringing my family over, and maybe that's why um, I'm having a bit of a problem getting my family here, and I'm not getting anything at the GiveSendGo. I need help with it. I'm on a limited income and I don't make enough money to put a big chunk of money in to pay for plane tickets. So we're talking from 12 to 1600, just depending. I mean, when you purchase at the counter, we're not in a position where we can um, book out these flights in advance. Like 2 to 3 weeks in advance to get the lower prices. So anyway, I digress. So yeah, but I'm gonna do things differently than I have over the last few days. I'm going to uh, I'm going to be a lot more spiritual here, and what we have to understand is that um, our war here isn't with flesh and blood. It's the spirit and the principalities, and it's all going on in the second heaven, which is, we're here on earth. We're considered the first heaven. The second heaven is kind of like before you get to heaven, which is be like the third, what they call the third heaven. The second heaven is where all the spiritual warfare is going on, and a lot of that bleeds through. And it was interesting. I watched oh, who was it? I think it might have been on the confessionals, where he was talking with one of the ladies that got saved, and she is a warrior for Christ now. But they talked about back on the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, when President Trump got shot in the ear. That was basically spiritual warfare happening, and how that bled over, and how they think that, and even Trump said that it was a divine intervention that kind of turned his head. When they talked about an angel, like, going boop as the bullet was flying, just turned his head just enough so that it wouldn't hit a deadly spot. 1 second. Had a little bit of a cough. I didn't want to blow your ears out. So yeah, so spiritual warfare, putting on the armor of God, taking a different approach to how we interact with those people that are, how do I they're against everything that I should say, when I'm talking about MAGA, they're against everything that we stand for. But the way that some of these people are acting is, it makes me feel like if if they're not demonic forces. Again, we're talking about some bleed through from the second heaven with the spiritual warfare. A lot of these people are in, and there are a number of different reasons why they would be open to this kind of stuff, whether in their personal lives, what they're involved in, and things that they do, or things that have happened to them in their life. And then again, a lot of this is generational. I don't know if you've ever heard of, like, the term called sins of the father. Um, that's one term that they use, but it's where they talk about generational and like curses that like say your great great grandfather was involved in the occult and was a Satan worshiper, and then that kind of went through the generations and it hadn't been purged or cleared, so it continues. Um, so that's one of the things that could be affecting some of these people. I mean, the big thing that I noticed the last couple of days, and I think this is why I think we're very close to some big things happening, spiritually anyway, because all of a sudden this is like a day and a half after, we took out the nuke plants in Iran. The playbook, it's almost like they were in the last chapter, last verse of their playbook. When I say they, I'm talking about the left, whether it be the Democrats, progressives, whoever are the playmakers for them. Anybody that's pretty much anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, anti-United States of America. I think they were in their last chapter, last verse of their playbook, because all of a sudden it was like somebody flipped the script and said, okay, this is the only thing you guys can post about now for the next day. And it was nothing but, them complaining about Roe v. Wade being overturned. And I was like, I noticed it, and it was like all of the Democrat representatives, the Congress people, senators, even just your normal Joes on the street, putting TikTok videos up and stuff. And we all know that the whole thing with Roe v. Wade, that was their way of having legal child sacrifice. Yeah, I hope I don't know. I hope I don't, um, get taken down for some of the things that I say. I don't mean anything in a bad way, but it's just how they do things. And they're pushing to have this back, and they're talking about how these mothers died because they didn't get the health care they needed during their pregnancy. But they don't put any receipts out there. They don't tell you like if there were underlying circumstances. They don't. They just throw it out there. They throw a statement and they say that somebody died because Roe v. Wade got overturned. And my response to many of them was just, prove it. Show me the receipts. What actually happened. So, but that was just one big thing, that in their playbook, the Roe v. Wade stuff just, started coming out hot and heavy. And then, as I'm going through, I follow, and I'm followed back by probably 4 or 5 people in Ukraine that are on the ground that I can get information from when my fiance isn't able to let me know what's going on. Like, say, if they have power outage, or if the data or internet or whatever is down because of drone strikes and stuff. They end up turning that stuff off for a reason, and it makes her angry. But I still get notifications, fairly quickly about like any drone attacks or any missile attacks or anything that are going on and where they're happening in Ukraine. A lot of times, within a minute or two, even before my fiance has a chance to let me know what's going on. But what I'm seeing now that I'm following some more of these people, and a couple of them are women, and they do, blogs, and they talk about what's going on, basically about how they're feeling, and how the war is affecting them personally. But I was reading one of the posts by one of the young ladies, and it was vile. And my guess is maybe that this was written by a Russian guy, because I mean, just the way it was worded, and what they said they were going to do. That would there's some visceral hate between um, some of the Russian people and the Ukraine people. Um, I don't. I just can't figure it out. All the Ukrainians that I've met, and I know some here in the States that I've met too, when I was working as an office manager for an attorney up in Wisconsin. There's a few Ukrainians that came over, and I know them pretty well. They were kind of like pro Biden, but I kind of got an idea of what they were running away from in Ukraine. And the one guy, he didn't want to be on the meat grinder on the front lines, and he got lucky and got out when he did. But there's still a lot that are trying to. But the things that are being said to people, the only word that I can say is evil. You would never say things like this to another human being unless you were uh, either demonically possessed or controlled by demonic forces. You just wouldn't say these kind of things to people. I'm reading through that, the the repost of what was said to her, and I don't know why, but do you guys remember the movies, the Hostel movies? They were like the horror, the kind of graphic stuff. I don't watch that anymore, but it reminded me of that, of, and how this guy said that he was going to do certain things to her if he after the war was over. It was pretty bad. Um, Made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Made me lose some faith in Russia, in the Russian people, because they're the ones that are saying this stuff, and how they cheer. It's reminiscent too of the radical Islamists that would cheer um, for innocent civilians getting bombed. It's like, I think all of that is demonic possession or influence. It has to be, because I don't think real human beings, whether you're a Muslim or Christian or you're Hindu or whatever, um, an uninfluenced human would never have thoughts of doing things like that to another person. And that's why I think going back with the whole Roe v. Wade stuff, I think that's all demonic influence stuff right there, and it's all about sacrifice. And unfortunately, about sacrificing unborn babies, they 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 have no power to speak for themselves. But here we've got, there were other posts that were out there, especially on TikTok. There is some really evil stuff going on TikTok about this woman celebrating that later that day she was getting an abortion. She goes, "Yeah, I'm getting an abortion because I can." She had no issues with her health or anything. She just wanted to go get a baby cut out of her. And that was the whole gist of her video. It's sick. It's really sick. So, yeah, I just a lot on my mind, a lot of stuff that's playing out right now. And I want to transition now over, so the whole thing with Iran and the nuke plants. I have to explain some things of my post. People will probably be looking at some of my posts and going, well, what the heck is this guy talking about? Because I mentioned about the cash cows being slaughtered and the boogeyman is now dead. There is no boogeyman anymore. So basically what was happening is you got the rhinos, the Dems, the warmongers, the ones that are pushing for the wars in Ukraine, and the people that were pushing to go to war with Iran. And it's funny because, Trump just took out 3 nuke facilities, and not a single life was lost on either side. at least that we know of on the Iranian side. I don't know if there were anybody down in there. I'm sure they had plenty of notice and were able to evacuate and get out of there. But that being said, um, these same people for were going after Trump, saying that he didn't that they were lying about the destruction or the quote unquote obliteration. But these are the same people that are pushing to have boots on the ground and put people into another never-ending war, like with Iraq, in Afghanistan, and then even going back to Vietnam. They just want boots on the ground. They want our people dying. It's that's their sacrifice. That's how they can sacrifice to their god of Moloch or Satan or whoever it is that they worship. But here, Trump did it without any lives lost, and now we have an actual standing ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Um, I think there's a little bit more going on there than what we're supposed to know yet. Um, but again, it was successful, but the mainstream media, especially CNN and the New York Times, are putting out hit pieces and oh, and where they get there's a leaker. I think they said that this leaker was in the Pentagon. And SecDef, during his speech the other day, he basically said, "Yep, we know we have a leaker in the Pentagon, and I hope they know that they committed treason." And he said straight out on what happens when you commit treason. I won't repeat it here, but Hegseth said it straight up. So we've got the the leaker in the Pentagon, and then we've got the news agency and or maybe just the news reporter that leaked this. That is also going to be they know that they had classified top secret information and they were releasing it to the public. So that's a big thing that's going to be sorted out over the next maybe week or so. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Um, yeah, so that we've got all that. The other good news with Ukraine, Trump and Zelensky met. They had a positive conversation for about an hour and a half, I guess, before Trump had to come back. But it sounds it sounds like Trump is going to sell some Patriots to Ukraine. We'll see how that pans out. A lot of the Ukrainian people, even some of the people that I follow, were complaining that the United States wasn't doing enough. And that kind of takes me off on another tangent now, where I tried to explain to them about there's something else going on there where and Trump, we know Trump is anti-war and he doesn't want people dying, and he does constantly talk about the lives that are being lost in Ukraine. And he said, and I agree with him here. He said that by the United States giving Ukraine more weapons and funds to fight Russia, it doesn't stop the war and it doesn't stop people from dying. Okay, so Zelensky's vision and Putin's vision are to bomb each other into submission to get somebody to quit. Too many people are going to die. Trump said, "You guys need to go to the table and you need to talk it out and fix this." But I think what's actually happening right now, and this some of this will get a little deep, but first I want to reference back to a couple of years ago with Victoria Nuland when she was being questioned by then Senator Marco Rubio on the whole why we should be this is during Biden's time, why we should be supplying Ukraine with funding and weapons. And Victoria Nuland said straight out, and then I mean it was like the halls of Congress went silent after she said this, but she says, "Well, we have um, biolabs there that we're trying to protect." She said some are above ground and there were some below ground. But she says we have to protect them because if Russia gets a hold of it, they'll use that stuff. And so she basically admitted without saying that they were working on chemical and biological warfare stuff in these biolabs. Is basically what she said, because if Russia gets a hold of it, then they'll use it against Ukraine. And we have an investment here. We need to protect our investment. So that put me on another rabbit hole and looking into what was going on. Um, I didn't prepare anything like to show maps or anything. I'm probably not going to on this stream. I will on another one. This is just I need to get some stuff off my chest this morning, so that's why I'm here doing this. But it's there. Going back, there's a reason on top of the no more weapons to kill people. That's why Trump's not doing it. But there's something else over there that Zelensky is involved in. Okay, first off, I don't feel that Volodymyr Zelensky is really a true president of Ukraine, because to me and it may look to a lot of Ukrainians that he's being patriotic and that he's fighting for the country. But the thing that he's trying to do the most is he's trying to get money and he's trying to get weapons, and he's basically is going to keep his people in war. But I believe that Zelensky is a puppet for NATO, because a lot of the NATO countries, it's coming out that they're warmongers, and they all have a bone to pick with Russia anyway. Okay, so they've come out and said, well, Ukraine are the ones that are protecting us right now. Ukraine is standing in the way and slowing Russia down. Maybe if that's the case. I mean, just in an article this morning that I read, they were talking about how Russia had other aspirations to get Poland and Bulgaria and some other places that they wanted to bring back into the fold. I don't know how true that is, but because I can't read Putin's mind. I don't know, and he's like Trump. He doesn't telegraph the things that he's going to do. So Zelensky's a puppet for NATO, especially the NATO people that are pushing for the war. And think of this too. You've got all these NATO troops and equipment in Ukraine on the border with Russia. What do you think Russia's thoughts are going to be when they see all this buildup on their border? Wouldn't you be a little bit pissed off too if you had some people just go as far as like protesting and right on the just outside the borders of your property, and people were lined all the way around, and they were carrying signs, and they were saying things about you that weren't very nice, and whatnot. Okay, that's taking it a notch with no violence, but how would you feel? Okay, so basically that's the same thing that's probably going through Russia's head right now, is that all the buildup on their border, the NATO buildup. Okay, so besides NATO, then we've got the CIA. There's still rogue members of the CIA that are out there. They work off of black budget money. They work off of money that they got from their drug trade. You know, so they've and I hate to say it, but they're involved in human child trafficking as well. That's where they get their money. We have a lot of proof out there. I'm not going to show receipts now. I'll say it, but we'll have all that information coming. Maybe on a lifting the veil or something. But most of us and most of you that watch me know by your own research what's going on out there. So after the CIA, then you've got DARPA. DARPA would be involved because they're probably having some things to do in these biolabs and these DUMBs, these underground military bases. And how do I know that there are underground bases and DUMBs? You look all over Eastern Europe, okay, up into Russia, all the way down, everywhere, actually across the whole world. And you look at you see, especially in Hungary, in Bulgaria, Ukraine. You see Lviv, and they've definitely got Lviv, Ukraine. They've got a ton of the old world buildings. Unfortunately, in the Donbass region, most of those buildings have been bombed out and destroyed. But they're still there. That you have these, what I call them, old world buildings. These are buildings that were actually built by the previous civilization. If you think, oh, he's woo 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 woo, no, I'm not. There's a lot of proof out there. When you get done watching me, go over to the My Lunch Break YouTube channel or Rumble channel, depending on which one you prefer to watch. He's got irrefutable proof of all this. Okay. I mention it, and I did a couple of videos on it, but I'm not going to try to recreate his wheel. He's doing a fine job, and I like the way that he puts it out there too. So, but I will give My Lunch Break and the confessionals a shout out for everything, because these guys, they do a fine job at what they're doing. So then after DARPA, then you've still got your Democrats, and we'll specifically, because they're not involved anymore, because I don't think they're with us anymore. But the Biden family was definitely involved in Ukraine and involved in the coup that happened, that ended up putting Zelensky in as president, and with some of the other things with certain, like, judges and law enforcement and other politicians that were removed from office. I think the Bidens had a lot to do with that. Not, I don't think, I know they did. Plus, we already all know that they were getting they were filling their line in their pockets with a ton of money that was supposed to be going to Ukraine for their war effort against Russia. Okay, so then you got the Dems, and then we've got the rhinos. Okay, because yeah, there's Republicans that are involved in this, and they're not innocent either. Okay, and for example, more recently, this was 2 days before the ceasefire talks were supposed to happen in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. 2 days before, Lindsey Graham gets on a plane, unbeknownst to the State Department or President Trump or any of them, gets on a plane, flies to Ukraine, has a private meeting with Zelensky, leaves, comes back. The very next day, Ukraine does a pretty massive drone attack on one location inside Russia and another location inside Slovenia, that took out Russian Tupolev bombers with their drones. Okay, so this happens the day before ceasefire talks were supposed to be happening. So do you think Putin was going to be very receptive to a ceasefire or peace talks when approximately 40 of his bombers were either damaged or completely destroyed by a sneak attack the day after Lindsey Graham was there? What did Lindsey give them that they needed to go after this equipment? What was Lindsey there for? he needs to be investigated and questioned in front of Congress on C-SPAN so that the whole world can watch and see what happened and why he was there. Okay, um, so we'll go back and recap. So we have Zelensky as a puppet for NATO, for DARPA, for CIA, for rhinos and Democrats, the warmongers, the people that actually want the war to go on, and they want deaths and they want these sacrifices. That's what it's all about. It's all about human sacrifice, and protecting their biolabs so they can make more war and do other covert stuff and kill people with chemicals. So that's where we're at. And all this stuff going on, and then you had the whole thing between Elon and Trump. And I think that was, thinking back on this, I think what happened between them, because Trump did say that Elon the White would be coming back, okay? But you gotta understand how he talks in his code. But I think the rift between Elon and Trump, I don't think it was real. But I think what it was a way for all of a sudden all of the left garbage, the spewing of all this nasty crap that's been going on X. There was a switch that was flipped that just allowed this stuff to flood in. So going back to where I started at the beginning, I said I noticed over these last 2 to 3 days that it just was, you go on X, and for me, I would see a couple of parody accounts that were posting stuff like Barron or Melania or Ivanka or Don Jr., their parody accounts that would be posting like a meme and wanting you to either say, do you agree with this, yes or no? But I would say about 95% of everything else that was coming through on my feed on X for the last 3 to 4 days now is all because a switch got flipped, allowing this stuff to spew in. And it almost worked on me. I almost got triggered, and I think, it took me like a day and a half to like kind of, I think it was like the Holy Spirit telling me, hey, Kirk, chill out. You gotta do this a little bit differently, okay? But I think that was so people could actually, there's twofold. So more people could actually see the repetition of all the stuff coming out all at once. First, it was like all of these people downplaying and saying that the Iran nuclear bombings they failed. They were failures. So there was all that. And then we started getting that like fixed on, with the news conferences. And then all of a sudden it came out that there was a leak, and that there was, that we might have some traitors in our midst. Okay, then the next thing that all of a sudden everybody was puking out about Roe v. Wade. I mean, and it was bad. It was like if I looked at, when I do a refresh, it'll say like 35 posts, that there's 35, to look at 35 new posts. Out of that 35 posts, maybe 3 or 4 of them were advertisements. There might have been 1 or 2 parody accounts. So that's 5. And then the rest of them were all progressive, left-wing, and shall I say demonic, evil posts going after Trump, going after his family, and also the whole Roe v. Wade stuff. Roe v. Wade, it was like every single congressperson, senator, any of them, they every single one of them that were posting, it all was Roe v. Wade. It was almost like, okay, guys, here's our script for today. If you're going to do any social media, this is what you're going to talk about. And that's what it was for like a day and a half. I haven't gone on X yet this morning. I wanted to come on and I wanted to get a bunch of stuff off my chest with all of you, kind of cleanse my spirit a little bit before I go on and engage in some spiritual warfare. But I just was hoping that people can kind of see what's going on. Okay, if you're MAGA, stay the course. Okay, he's not turning on us. He's not doing subversive things. There's some psyops that are going on, but we know that that's been happening since the day that, even before he walked down the escalator. And it's also, we can, in simpler terms, drain the swamp. But we got to take America back, and there's still a lot of very bad people out there that wish to do America harm. Which brings me to the last thing that I want to talk about, and again, it goes to talking about spiritual warfare and getting ready for some things, because we're going to go into a golden age. Things are going to get really good, but there's still going to be a lot of bad things that are happening. Okay. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Trey Smith, but he put some stuff out, and I really I like watching his stuff. It's positive. um, there was one video that he did that this lady supposedly, I think it was back in like 2022, she had this dream of something that was supposed to happen later, and it had to do, I think it had something to do with, if you go to God in a Nutshell, or on the Trey Smith God in a Nutshell on YouTube, he's got a video out there called 1607, and it talked about like the first settlers in the United States in Virginia. They 1607. Okay, so it talks about that, and it talks about an executive order that President Trump signed around that time, and it all refers to that, and about some actual founding dates. And they were kind of doing some math, and it kind of goes, we're looking at 2027. Okay, that's less than 2 years away, that we're going to get, and I think, and from things that I've seen that are happening now with these leaks in the Pentagon, that we're going to find, the rats are starting to come out. All this stuff that's been going on, I think, has been with flipping the switch. So we're seeing all this stuff. We're seeing who the true MAGA really are, the people that are hanging, and then we're getting a lot of these people that call themselves MAGA, that are influencers, that are out there basically saying that they're quitting MAGA, that they're going to join the Democrat Party. They're speaking poorly of Trump. Candace Owens is one of them. So you've got these people out here that are falling away because they're believing the hype and the lies of that the left is pushing. They weren't prepared, in my opinion. I don't think that they were ever really MAGA or pro-Trump. I think a lot of these people were never Trumpers from the get-go. But a lot of people, a lot of rats were brought out into the light over this past week. And it's going to continue to happen. But 2027, I forget the month. I don't know why July is popping out in my head. But apparently 1 to 2 supposedly very close advisors to President Trump are going to be revealed as being traitors to our country, and have been working against saving our country, working against Trump. Basically, their plans were to take the United States down. So that was just something that they talked about, and I think you would get a better understanding of it instead of just saying, "Oh, that this woman had a dream." No, there's a little bit more to it than that. But if you go check out that video, it's Trey Smith's God in a Nutshell. The video is fairly recent, and it says 1607 on the screen. It's the thumbnail for the video. Check it out. Okay, I think I've gone long enough here. I got a lot off my chest. I'm expecting to be able to talk to my fiancé here again in a little while. So, um, and I have just, this is loud, obnoxious ringtone for her, so I don't miss when she messages me or calls. But I just want to leave you all with this here. You know, when you're out there researching, if your research doesn't bring you back to Jesus Christ, then your research is looking in the wrong place. Put on that armor of God, stay strong, be positive. God already won this. We know this. God already won. Don't lose faith. Again, if you feel it in your heart, I got the links for my GiveSendGo in the video description. If you want to give a buck or two, I mean, I've had it up there for 2 weeks. I haven't gotten a single penny. But you know, we got people out there that didn't have insurance on their car, driving an Uber and have an accident, and now they've got a ton of money coming in because people think like, oh my God, we got to help this guy. You know, they're giving him money because he was stupid and didn't have car insurance. Where I'm trying to save some people's lives. Yeah, it's my people, my fiance, my future mother-in-law, my future brother-in-law. Trying to get them out of there. But then I've also got my sponsor links down below. For Patriots and EMP Shield. EMP Shield, clicking on my link, 50% off anything on the site. And they usually do have some other, like if you buy anything in bulk, like 2 or more, you get a bigger discount on top of the 50%. On For Patriots, they've just every day they've got crazy discounts. You can buy one get 2 free, and we're talking like 4-week food supply. And this is like 25-year shelf life. Excellent tasting food. It's real. This is not. You can get the veggie stuff if you want, but this is like real beef, real chicken, real pork, everything in it is real. It's not plant based. So many different selections, and the prices are just phenomenal. Compare that to what you spend in groceries in a month, and if you feel like I do that there's still some bad stuff coming down the pipe, we still haven't had our 10 days of darkness yet, folks. So make sure you prepare yourselves. With the EMP Shield, they just came out with a new product. So for those of you that have Starlink out there, the version 4 Starlink, they have an EMP Shield for that. So if you want to protect your investment, for sure, check it out. The links are in the description. I'll probably do these impromptu a little bit more often every now and then, but thank you all for watching. Give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe if this is your first time seeing me. Please subscribe. I'm just trying to get everything built back up. I had about a 2-year hiatus, and kind of everything went away, so I'm just trying to rebuild. So God bless. MAGA. Okay, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.